Hello and welcome to the Activist Diaries. Today I'll be talking about the outreach I did in the past couple of weeks with Animal Save. What that outreach entails is basically there are 6 people in a street. They are 3 people pointing in one direction, 3 people pointing in another direction. The people in the center have TVs showing pictures of documentaries about the animals, and the other people have cards, some in Portuguese because I'm in Portugal, or some in English because we do it in Lisbon and there's a lot of tourism there. So I'll be talking more about the last 2 activities that I did because I wanted to make this series. Every time I do some activism, I'll be reporting it here. But since I just had this idea like yesterday, I'll be talking about the last 2 outreach that I did. Some funny stories, some notable stuff. Because if I were to remember every time this happens, no way this video would be way too long. But some things that really happen often is people will just pass us by and they will say some stupid shit and just run away, or sometimes they are looking, but if they feel or if they see someone approaching them, they will just run away. The first time I was doing it, there was an old lady who just said straight to my face, "Oh, I don't eat cabbage." Yes, because everything vegans eat is cabbage, of course. Stuff like that. Or also some guy, he was already like far away, but he was saying, "Oh, vegans kill more animals than carnivores," and we all know that's not true. I mean, we vegans know that's not true because they will say, "Oh, crop that though," or stuff like that, which just makes no sense. Crop that has already been debunked. There's a video about it from Lifting Vegan Logic, which is very good. Maybe I'll link it in the description. So there's a lot of people who will just say some stupid shit and walk on by. Doesn't really matter. There was also a pretty nice girl and her mother who were there just to see us. They were vegan and they gave us some cake. So the cake was delicious. It was, I believe it was like banana and chocolate. I can't really remember because that was already 2 weeks ago. But the cake was really fucking good. But anyway, so some highlights of that day. There was an apathetic guy who really was just, I believe he was looking at footage. So he was looking at one of the TVs, footage of pigs being slaughtered and all of that, and he was just standing there like this, and I decided to approach him, and I was trying really hard to make him speak, because what we are doing is basically people who stop, we try to make them speak and try to make them say what's going on, say if they like what they're seeing on screen, like animal agriculture, if they like what's happening on the screen, if they will change, stuff like that. Usually it gets more into a debate, but usually it's pretty chill because people usually don't know, they never thought about what's going on the screen and what we are doing, or even what happens to the animals they eat every day. So, but this guy was just really apathetic, just looking at it, no emotion, which is very strange. Usually people go like, oh, I don't want to look at this, or, like, oh, this is horrible, or some even laugh. I don't know, maybe some people are just sick in the head, but they laugh. I don't know, maybe they're just nervous. But this guy, let me just get into this guy. He was really apathetic, and I was, do you know what's happening here? And he was like, yes, I know. but then he was like, oh, but did you ever eat meat? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I've been vegan for years, so I've ate vegan since I was a child to I was 18. Of course, I know what meat tastes like. And I was giving him some answer, but he was just like, yes, no, stuff like that. And I mean, I was by him like for 5, maybe 10 minutes, and I was really trying. I wasn't pushing it, right? I was letting him watch, but every time I came up with something else to tell him, he was just like, yeah, but meat tastes so good. And I was doing something like Earthling Ed, so taste over life, that kind of stuff Earthling Ed does. And he was saying, yeah, I know, but I guess taste. But he wasn't phased at all. He was just like looking at it, no emotion. He didn't even try to argument. He was just like, whatever, I don't care. And that's really heartbreaking, because I actually prefer people to be angry at me, or people to be angry at the screen, something, but just staring at it, feeling nothing. It's really really heartbreaking. And that guy, I mean, I don't know. He was weird. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. So from that day, there was also another guy that really stood out, because he was an older gentleman, like maybe 60 years old. And I talk to anyone. I don't care if someone stops. I don't care if it's like a teenager, an old person, some different nationalities, black, Middle Eastern, Indian, Asian, white. I don't care. I just talk to anyone, because usually people who walk by there, they're more foreigners than Portuguese people. So usually I just end up talking in English with them. So, but this guy was actually Portuguese, but he was standing there for a few minutes looking at us, and I approached him, and it's curious because he said all the arguments like lions though, nature though, like all those arguments that we're used to hearing, because well, it's people never thought about it. And protein though, people never thought about it, so it's like people always say the same arguments. I really don't mind, because I don't blame them anyway. But yeah, this guy was like just all the arguments that people usually give. And but he was very interested. That's something that to take is, usually people will go and debate like, oh, this though, right? Yeah, this though, right? Yeah, but this guy was like, oh, okay, but what about this? And I was telling him, yeah, but that, it's X and Y. And he was like, oh yeah, I never thought about it. And he was keeping. He was very interested in conversation. Then he had to pick up his phone, and I was like, okay, right, sure. There was another guy standing, so I went to talk to him. Then he got off his phone and waited for me to finish talking to the other guy, which is very sweet. And we kept on talking, and I think that conversation went really well, because like he said, yeah, this is new philosophy for me, and I never thought about this, and I will definitely be thinking about it. Usually I take that stuff with a grain of salt, because people will say, oh yeah, I will think about it later, I will go vegan, whatever. But we can never know what people actually do when they go home. But I usually just give them like a card, something to remember us by. Yes, so I'm so sorry. I just recorded like the half of the video with my microphone on the camera. It will be shit audio, but yeah, it happens. Well, yeah, so from this day, there's only one more person that I would like to talk about, which is an Icelandic guy. And I really need more practice in arguing with people, because he told me something which I don't know if it's true or not, but either way, I didn't know how to push forward. For example, we were talking back and forth, And he said, "Oh yeah, but in Iceland, the vegetables and fruits are way more expensive than meat, which is all imported." And I really didn't. I mean, I'm not Icelandic. I'm not aware if it's actually more expensive or less expensive, but I doubt it. But I couldn't just say, "Oh, you're lying," right? So, and the other thing is, so vegetables and fruits and plants are more expensive. So do they produce? Are they self-sustainable? Are all the meat they produce comes from Iceland? And if that's the case, then what do the meat they produce eat, right? So if they only eat meat and the meat is more is cheaper, what do like the cows and chickens eat in Iceland, right? Like they need to import plants. I don't know, like those kind of stuff. People usually go and say, oh, say some, maybe some white lie, or it's just something that it's not true, in order to escape the argument. I don't know if he was doing this like genuinely. I just think he never thought about it, and he was just like saying, "Oh yeah, it's more expensive." I don't believe it, but either way. He was saying stuff like, "Oh yeah, the world will be vegan," and stuff like that. That's why I actually continue to argue with him, because, like, he's saying the world will be vegan, but then he's not vegan. Then, like, how will the world be vegan if the people who think that won't be vegan? It's weird. But then he was, and it's weird as well because he's so worried about the price of fruits and vegetables, but here he is in Lisbon, right, from Iceland to Lisbon, like on vacation. So I actually said, "Hey, you're in Lisbon, so vegetables and fruits and rice and beans, it's cheaper here, so you might as well be vegan while you're in Portugal, right?" He had no response to it. It's not like people want to be disingenuous, but sometimes they don't really think about what they're saying too much. So yesterday was another day I did outreach, and yesterday it went a little bit worse. So we were at another place, at another street in Lisbon, which is a more busy street. And people were just walking by us, and they didn't even have the time to even look at what's going on. Like, so many people that sometimes it's hard depending on which street we're in. And people were way more hostile than the other time. Like, people were, if I approached them, they would be, "Oh, I'm not interested," or, "Yeah, I know what this is, I don't want to talk about it," "Oh, I'm not looking, I was just standing here." Stuff like that. It's like, okay, but imagine, I don't mind if you don't want to talk about it. Sure, you don't want to talk about it, I'll respect that, but people really, like, are already with a preconceived notion that I'm gonna be mean or we're doing something wrong. They're, it's not like a respectful, "I'm sorry, I really don't want to talk about it." It's more like, "Oh, I don't want to talk about it." It's like kind of unnecessary, but it is what it is. So yeah, one of the first people I talked was an American, also an older gentleman, an American guy. I'm pretty fucking short, so this guy was, I don't know, 1.9 meters. He was really tall and fat. I imagine all Americans are like that. But he was like, "Oh, I'm not interested. I'm not interested." And suddenly he was interested because he kept on arguing. So I kept on talking to him as well. And a funny thing he said was, "Oh, I like my dog very much. I really like animals." And I was like, "So you like animals, but you still eat them? What's up with that?" And the conversation went on for like 5 minutes, but then he was like, "Oh, in my country, the animals are not mistreated. In my country, it's the best welfare standards." And I was like thinking, is this guy for real? America? Really? You can't be serious, right? Like, America, really? Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's like, he was saying, "Oh, I love my dog so much," stuff like that, and he was saying, "Oh, but the animals in America are well treated." And he's an older gentleman, you know. If it was a kid saying this, I would be like, "Okay, sure." I mean, maybe that's not quite real, but if you wanna believe it, okay. But an older gentleman, it's like, how many years of propaganda do you need to listen to actually believe what you're saying? It's like America really like I know I'm not really explaining why I think America does not have the best welfare standards. And even if it did, it's like, even with the highest welfare standards, the animals are still abused horribly, you know? And in America, it's not different, right? If in the UK it's the highest welfare standards, so the America will only get worse. And I mean, maybe like patriot stuff, like American patriot, oh, my country is the best, right? And maybe thinking back, I should have said, oh, but well, if America is so good, then you should be vegan in everywhere else, right? Yeah, that's right. It's really it's not hard, but sometimes it's more difficult to talk with foreigners because they will say, "Oh, in my country it's this or that," and it's like in the moment I'm thinking, "Oh, a country. So which country is this? What do they do in that country? What do they do in that country?" And I can't really argue of things I don't know, so I need to find a way to just, you know, get past that. And like, if someone says, oh, in America it's very good, oh, in Iceland it's very good, I need to know how to move on from that and just argue about the point at hand, which is the animals. And yeah, so that conversation went but the conversation of the day, and when I say of the day, it's not that I liked it, it's more like it really pissed me the fuck off. It's like a Karen, Portuguese Karen, and she was not having it. Like, she was disrespectful. She only talks shit, basically. Like, well, let me go from the beginning. So she, first of all, she was like telling her friend, "Oh, look at this! This is so cool." Some stuff like that, and I actually saw that. And when people walk by, and even if they don't want to stay, if they say some comment, I will actually reply, because people sometimes are disrespectful and they can't get away with it. At least with me, they won't get away with that, because if people are disrespectful, they do it because there are no consequences. And people who do this in this kind of environment, they do it exactly because of that. There will be no consequences. So I'm always there, like, undercover. If someone says some bad shit, I'll reply. And she wasn't saying some bad shit, but she said, "Oh, look at this," or this and that. And so I approached her, and she was like, "Oh, I've seen this kind of setup in Italy. Oh, yeah, I travel so much." Stuff like that. And I was like, "Oh, but are you vegan?" And she said, "Oh, no, I'm not vegan." Stuff like that. And excuses, right? "Oh, I don't eat red meat." The usual. I said, "We don't like harming animals." And she said, "Oh, I'm Catholic." And she started arguing about religion. And I was like, we can't, like, in my head, I was like, we can't be arguing about religion. This is about the animals, not religion. But I did some oopsie, because what I've learned from that conversation, and in other conversations ahead, you'll know that, I learned from that conversation. Now I will not engage in fucking religious conversations ever, because, religion, though, it's not an argument. But as soon as a person goes down that road, and as this Karen was, she was just, "Oh, religion, though. Oh, do you study religion? Oh, you don't study religion, right? I know more than this than you, so you're talking lies." She started saying stuff like that, because what happened was, "Oh, I'm Catholic." And I was like, "Okay, so you're Catholic, so this and that." And she was saying, "Oh, that's not true at all." and what can I say? Like, it's not true, so okay, it's not true. So what, right? She was, yeah, because she was saying, oh, I'm Catholic, so in some parts of the day we don't. And I said, oh, in some parts of the day you don't, some parts of the year, I mean, we don't eat meat or fish, whatever. But she said, no, that's not true at all. That's a lie. That's a lie. And I said, okay, because, yeah, and I said, okay, and I was kind of confused. And she took advantage of that to go on about religion and whatnot. And I just said, okay, let's just focus on this, right? Because what I really think is people will talk about religion for the sake of the argument. For example, I don't think she believes in what she's saying, right? Like, I think she's, like a normal person. They say, I'm Catholic, but they don't really practice the religion. They don't really take it serious. It's like, it's in the back pocket. If they need it, oh, here's the fucking Catholic card. So, yeah, so then she wanted to talk about nutrition. And okay, I'll talk about nutrition. Then she says, oh, I'm a nutritionist. And I don't believe it. So at that time I was with a girl, and that girl actually told me after we talked to her that this lady probably has an eating disorder or some shit like that, because she was saying, oh, I really don't want to be fat. Oh, where do you get your protein? I was saying, like beans, chickpeas, stuff like that. And she was like, oh, if I eat all of that, it's just carbs. Those are just carbs. You can't eat just like that. You will get fat. In me, I'm pretty skinny. The girl that was with me was pretty fucking skinny. Like, everyone that was there was zero fat people there. And she was saying, oh, I'll get fat if I go vegan. Like, are you serious? And she was saying stuff like, oh, I do intermittent fasting, and I do my detox, and yesterday I didn't eat, stuff like that. And I was like, alright, but this has nothing to do with veganism, right? That was what I was thinking, but in the moment I was pretty confused, because, like, what do I say to a Karen? She's not even letting me speak. It's so fucking frustrating. But yeah, that conversation went horribly. But I'm always learning, so I'm kind of new to doing this kind of stuff, so it's okay. And I know for a fact that I won't be engaging in religious conversations like I did. I will explain in a moment. There was another guy who wanted to talk about that, and I said that doesn't really matter. So yeah, in the meantime, there were some people who were more friendly, who wanted to hear about the subject, but then there was a guy who was clearly high, and like, he was high. I really didn't want to talk to him, but the girl that was with me, she said, oh yeah, we should talk to that guy. And I said, really? Okay, then let's talk to that guy. So yeah, I approached the guy, and he was high, right? The guy was high. And, like, I was trying to speak with him, like, oh, do you know what this is? Stuff like that. And after 5 minutes, he realized, oh, what? You're telling me you don't eat meat? Stuff like that. It was really fucking unnecessary. Like, there was also a moment that I asked him, are you vegan? He said, oh no, I'm a miner. Not miner like small. He's mining. He mines. And I said, what does that have to do with it? But basically, that means he was from a Brazilian district that's called Minas Gerais, and I guess that's like it's mines, right? Like General Mines, and he's from there, and he said he's a miner. I didn't know that was like something people said, so I was pretty confused. But yeah, he said, oh, people from there only eat meat, stuff like that. And I mean, Brazil, I think it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, exporter of meat. So, sure, I guess people there really eat a lot of meat. But even then, that's not really an excuse. And he was not making any sense. Like, he was, like, it's one of those things that if I didn't, I should have recorded it, because that conversation was so ridiculous that, like, I was just wasting my time, basically. And he said, oh, you can't get muscle, stuff like that. The big boss, I like to call him, like the organizer, he was also talking to a friend of his, so I actually called him in to talk with this guy. So he would be talking to both of them, and I left them. I left the girl that was with me, talking with those two guys and the organizer. So I went to talk to another guy. This like some pretty normal conversations, nothing very spectacular. But then I was talking to the Middle Eastern guy, which was actually a really, really funny conversation. He was just, giving the same old arguments, like protein though, environment though, stuff like that, lions though. But then the lion part is very important, because he said lions though like so many times, like for example, oh but lions, no, actually he said, oh yeah but canines, like stuff people say all the time. I was like, oh yeah, but hippos have canines, like they're the biggest canines ever and they are herbivore. So yeah, what does that mean? And oh, but lions though, yeah. And I was like, yeah, lions rape each other, kill each other. And he said, oh yeah, but people have been doing this for thousands of years and stuff like that, and the same old stuff. But then he said lions though again, like for the third time. I was not having it, so I just said, yeah, well, lions lick their own balls. Do you lick your own balls? And he was like he stopped for a moment. He was with this face like, is this really happening? He was just like, oh yeah, shake that, yeah, you got me, stuff like that. But then we talked a bit more. It was a pretty chill guy. He wasn't trying to be vegan or anything like that, but I think the seed was planted, because it's like he never really heard about any of this before. So I talked to him, and the seed was planted, and he was a really funny guy, and yeah, that's what it is. While I was talking to that guy, the other, like the organizer and all that, were already packing. So we're already packing, and then like after that I talked to the organizer, and basically the guy, the high guy, the guy that was high, he was basically asking for the number of the girl that was doing activism. Like that's really uncalled for, very unnecessary, and yeah, that was really bad. But yeah, in general, like, I'll go in, try not to get discouraged by all people like talking shit or walking by not saying anything. But yeah, in general, like the last outreach activities that I did went really well. I talked to a lot of people, but in general, people never interacted with this subject, or never really thought about this. So it's good that we as activists go there and talk to them and make them think. Some people who walk by are already with the seeds and they just want help. Like yesterday there was a girl that like she said, oh yeah, what's this? And I told her, yeah, we don't like abusing animals. And she was very interested, and she said, yeah, I want help going vegan, I need to go vegan. Like people that are already on their way. That happens a lot. For example, people who have thought about this, but then they just need that extra push, and then they see us on the street and it's like, okay, yeah, it's tomorrow I'm vegan. So yeah, so for example, that girl, I just I gave her some cards, some guides to how to be vegan, challenge 22. And she said, "Oh yeah, I want more for my friends." And I was really happy because, it's like I talked to one person, that person may or may not go vegan. But if they are actually going and speaking and communicating this message to more people, it's like, yeah, nice. It's like a activism multiplier. The more people you talk to, the more people will become activists and go vegan and all that great stuff. Yeah, that's all I got for today. I think this was a pretty long video. I'm sorry for my microphone wasn't recording at the start of the video. I hope people won't click away just because the audio was shit. But anyway, thank you for sticking around, and go vegan, remain vegan, all that great stuff. We need more people to go vegan, more people to do activism. The snowball is already going. This needs to happen as soon as possible, so I'm working on it. You can also check out in the description, there are a lot of links, my bands, stuff like that. Probably some help in going vegan if someone who is watching this video is not vegan yet. There's some stuff in the description, documentaries, all that great stuff. And yeah, peace. A girl, for example, that